The greater one-horned rhino population in India and Nepal is growing, as highlighted in the State of the Rhino Report, 2023, by the International Rhino Foundation. The collaboration among India, Bhutan, and Nepal, along with strict government protection and management, has led to an increase in their population over the past decade. The greater one-horned rhino population, which once numbered as low as 100 in the early 1900s, has increased to more than 4,014 now. The Ocean Cleanup Initiative has a new system to clean up an area the size of a football field every 5 seconds. The previous one extracted 282,787 kilograms of trash from the Pacific Ocean so far. They're also working on interceptors for rivers that have collected over 840 tons of trash and counting. There's a long way to go, but they have lots of support and they're making amazing progress. Okay, now back to the bad news grinning squinting face. There's always cool stuff happening in the science community that doesn't make it to the news but really should. Check out thegoodnewsnetwork.org to see some neat things. Here are a few highlights. A new stem cell injection that halts the progression of multiple sclerosis is in clinical trials. The California redwoods weathered the wildfires better than scientists expected and are recovering very well. The FDA approved a treatment that cures sickle cell disease. A complete Stegosaurus fossil with skin still intact has been unearthed. NASA has developed technology for sending data transmissions much further than radio frequencies, and recently sent their first transmission 10 million miles away. Scientists are going to start experimenting with lab-grown cooking oils, which could help curb a lot of the environmental damage caused by mass soy, corn, and palm oil farming. Scientists have created natural sponges that can soak up nanoplastics. We are experiencing both child and adult literacy crises predating but exacerbated by COVID. Edit. The people telling me in the comments that these predated COVID, as explained in my one-sentence post, are proving my point. The war on water resources. It needs to be a big deal, but it ain't. Science is kicking cancer's ass. Almost every cancer has had treatments and drug breakthroughs in the last decade, and it keeps improving with more funding and research. Lake Mead water levels are 20+ feet higher than last year. Maternal death rates in the United States are rising. The highest rates are among black women. The rates have essentially doubled over the last 20 years. Edited to share that there's a lot of moving factors here. The rates are calculated from before birth to a year after birth. People are having babies later in life now, which is one factor. The immediate factors at play are things like hemorrhage, infection, hypertension, preeclampsia, stroke, and cardiomyopathy. But if we consider the factors that are happening up to a year after birth, we look mostly at mental health. The contributing factors to this mental health crisis, like lack of support, shit maternity/paternity leave, living far away from family, increased societal pressures, social media, etc. These mental health factors, alone, can be why America's rates are higher vs other countries. We aren't supporting our moms. Then there's the contributing political factors surrounding abortions. We're in the middle of a great extinction event, meaning species are going extinct at a rate of up to 10,000 times the normal rate. We're actually making the earth into a monoculture, which means across the earth we're planting many of the same crops across vast areas such as the US Midwest, and transforming the ecosystem into a place where generalists such as coyotes and deer thrive and specialists at certain ecosystems die off. We've currently transformed 40% of the Earth's land mass into crops and farms. How about the total commercialization of the internet? It started as a wild west of entertainment, news, information. Now there are daily propaganda and agendas that get consumed en masse. There are entire swathes of commercialized psychologists finding how to squeeze profit from you on almost every single app, game, streaming service, you name it. There are advanced AI being used by Core to lock you in cages of your own design. So comfortable and cozy that you'd be crazy to disconnect or complain. But why would you want to know that you are just a slave to forces beyond comprehension as long as you are here and a slave your own compulsions? That morality has long fallen by the wayside. We don't even see things like gore, porn, racism as particularly degenerative anymore. We just consume the 8+ different genocides happening at once. Over the past decade and a half, pretty much every person on Earth has been eating about 1 to 2 credit cards worth of plastic a year from microplastics. It's getting worse and isn't slowing down anytime soon, it would seem. The snow belt is getting higher and higher each year. I live in Chicago and it was 55 degrees Fahrenheit out on Christmas Day with no substantial snow for the foreseeable future. As a kid we would have had snow for weeks at this point already, and my family up in Northwest Michigan would be buried in it, and none of us have any. Today is my 10-year anniversary with my wife. The US healthcare system is actively collapsing. Roughly 15% of US patients simply cannot receive care, and that number is increasing. COVID accelerated it, but it's been coming for a while. There are tons of causes: cost, patient location, or because of the system being overburdened. Hospital systems are closing entire hospitals because they aren't profitable enough. This creates care deserts where patients don't have access to medical care. Certain specialties are being targeted by politics, which can make it worse. Hospitals, especially bad ones, are having huge staffing issues. Nurses are leaving bedside nursing at a high rate because patient care sucks. That creates a vicious cycle because then conditions get worse and so even more nurses leave. 35 to 45% of nurses quit nursing entirely within 5 years. But also MDs, CNAs, and support staff like techs, phlebotomists, therapists, etc. leave for the same reason. Hospitals just aren't paying appropriately to be assaulted and shit on and get certifications and have your license be on the line when Target will pay you $2 more an hour. Our insurance system has raised the price of care so high that many patients choose not to seek care, or can't pursue treatment when they need it. That's a combo of for-profit insurance, providers being able to opt out of Medicare/Medicaid, because they need to be profitable to keep their doors open, and the ever-rising cost of treatment itself. States who opt out of extended Medicaid are the ones who need it most, so tons more low-income patients can't afford care. The resources we do have are being stretched to the breaking point because of better-known issues like people treating ERS as primary care. That's getting worse for the same reasons: fewer and busier providers, higher costs, worse insurance, fewer facilities. I commented this early, but the 2024 Taiwan election is going to seriously dictate whether or not two superpowers clash militarily. The US Navy, along with limited assistance from the British and French, has been shooting down dozens of Yemeni Houthi, the Iranian-backed quasi-government, missiles and drones aimed at neutral shipping in the Red Sea and now well out into the Indian Ocean over the past few weeks. In mid-December, USS Carney engaged more air targets than any ship since World War II. USS Mason boarded a vessel that had been captured by Somali nationals under Yemeni guidance, rescued the crew and captured the attackers. The USS Eisenhower strike group engaged over a dozen drones, ballistic missiles, and cruise missiles the day after Christmas. Meanwhile, several ships have been struck by missiles, including an oil tanker which could have led to an ecological catastrophe if the crew had not been able to stay aboard and perform damage control. A Norwegian-owned, Indian crude vessel bound from Malaysia to Italy. Whatever your thoughts on the Israel/Hamas conflict, and both sides will have a lot to answer for there, the Houthis claim that their strikes have been against ships traveling to or owned by Israel has become increasingly threadbare as they indiscriminately fire on ships with zero connection to the conflict. This is Iran stirring the pot, and the US has been protecting ships and crews for which it has no responsibility in order to protect innocent sailors and the freedom of the seas. They have been doing far more than either East Asian nations such as China, despite their base and squadron in Djibouti, or the EU to protect a shipping route that benefits them more than it does us. This absolute wild story is on CNN today, so maybe some people know about it, but long story short, all those scammers that are stealing people's life savings are actually being held captive as modern-day slaves and are tortured in front of their co-workers if they don't scam certain amounts from people. They specifically target Americans, Brits, and 2 countries from South America that I forget. It was such a terrible story. They live in cheap buildings that look like hotels and spend 16 hours a day scamming people. They have profiles built for them, and they spend all day lying to people and getting them to invest in a fake crypto platform that ultimately gets shut down and their money is gone forever. The scammers don't get paid and are threatened with death. One of them that spoke out in anonymity and said when he initially denied to do the job they locked him in a cell for 3 days with no food or water, and he finally decided scamming was better than dying. It might sound ludicrous to have sympathy for these people, but some of them I have no idea how many of course who steal your money, that talk to you and convince you to give away your life savings, that you curse to hell for what they're doing to you. They don't see a dime of it. And as mad as you want to get at them, they're slaves. If they don't do what they do they will be tortured and possibly killed. Even when they called the embassy for help, they were told they got themselves into the situation and to get themselves out. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe for more.